The hero lies on his deathbed after saving the world. It's already known that the heroes meet their demise sometimes when they get betrayed by someone they trusted or fall for the enemy's trap. Due to their great power, those who are terrified of them avoid and ostracize them. This hero still gave his life despite these challenges. His dying wish to the gods was to live a simple life as a nobody when reincarnated. He is reborn as Alan, firstborn of the ducal house of Westfelt. He is rudely woken up by his younger brother, who calls him a useless lump. Their father has summoned him. As the two make their way through the hall, the younger brother expresses his joy that this day has finally come. He's surprised that their father has had so much compassion keeping Alan around. The second-born feels like he has suffered so far due to that decision. Alan bows before his father as the Duke points out how he has remained at level 1 since he was born. All his stat values are ordinary, and to make matters worse, he wasn't given any gifts during his blessing ceremony. His father points out that every child in the world receive a gift from the gods as a sign of their favor, so for him to be denied one is exceptionally terrible. Sounds like MASH 2.0. The Duke hopes that even a fool like Alan understands how bad his situation is. He is more than a disappointment considering he's supposed to be the heir of the Westfelt family. His failure sullies and brings shame on their great house. Based on this, he is officially excommunicated from the family. The guy is kicked out with only the clothes on his back and his sword. Alan sees this as freedom, and is surprised that he was reincarnated as the son of such an awful duke. However, he can finally find his way and search out the peace he craved so badly in his previous life. Alan heard that the borderlands on the eastern edge of his ex-family's territory is quiet. He's sure he can live his simple, trouble-free life there. This will be a complete contrast to his last one where everyone was afraid of him. After doing some fishing, he proceeds forward till he feels like he has walked far enough to start looking for a good place to settle. While scouting, he spots a dire situation in the distance. Beatrice struggles to fend off a pack of clay wolves that keep regenerating when she defeats them. Sounds like a nightmare for Thanos. The knight has never seen such monsters before. She is worried that if this keeps up, they will get to eat Lady Lys for dinner, whom she's sworn to protect. The lady worriedly calls to her guard. Beatrice tells for her to flee while she holds the monsters off. Lys refuses to do that. All the while, Alan uses his eye powers and identifies the damsel in distress as Lisa, who is the first princess of the kingdom of Adoestella. He wonders what a royal is doing at this backwater. This triggers a flashback to when they were younger. As members of the elite class, the two frequently met at parties. On one such night, she overheard some nobles talking about how useless Alan was and how his failure had become so legendary that everyone was talking about it. They couldn't believe such a coward was the heir to a prominent ducal house of the kingdom. Those nobles just felt sorry for his father, since he had just recently lost his wife at the time. Lys demanded that they apologize to Alan for their nasty comments. This surprised everyone at the party. The lady let them know that Alan was perfectly praiseworthy and was not a failure. Back to the present, Alan would have preferred not to use his powers from his last life in front of anyone. But if someone who believed in him is in trouble, then he can't sit by and do nothing. And the girls are in deep, deep doo-doo, because Beatrice has just been disarmed and critically wounded. Alan clenches his sword and activates his lightning feet and dashes towards the danger at a breakneck speed like his first name is Barry. All the while, the princess holds her longtime guard as the clay wolves close in. With her demise staring her in the face, the only person that comes to her mind is Alan, so she calls his name. She closes her eyes ready to accept her death, but it doesn't come, and she hears Alan's voice as he says that he heard someone call his name. She opens her eyes to see the lad holding one of the wolves, like how Itachi was holding Sasuke. He kicks the others that try to attack. The princess wonders what he's doing around. He assures her that they will discuss the details later. The guy uses his divine eyes to analyze the creatures before him. He locates their cores and rains down a hail of swords that strikes their weak spots and everything else. Talk about overkill. Lisa is amazed of his power for a moment, but her attention quickly goes back to Beatrice. The knight doesn't think she's going to make it, so the lady begins to cry. Beatrice thanks Alan for saving the lady, but the lad pauses her praises for a moment to heal her wounds. The former hero heals the injuries and restores her broken armor. She gets up shocked to see such a grave wound gone without a trace. The girls are amazed and ask Alan what that power is. He tries to think of an excuse because he can't tell them it's a power he inherited from his last life. The ladies just speculate that it could be a gift of rank that the church is unaware of. Alan just goes along with that explanation, but he wants to know what the first princess of the kingdom is doing out in the borderlands. Lisa explains how she received divine revelation the other day. These are prophecies from the gods given through a person's gift. On this occasion, they weren't imparted with any precise information. They were guided in the direction of Clume village in the borderlands, so that they could prevent misfortune. Unluckily, they were suddenly attacked by these monsters, and if it wasn't for Alan, they would have been monster food. The guy tries to downplay his achievement. The princess turns the same question to him, The guy slips past the question better than Mayweather dodging a jab. He comments on how they shouldn't be sitting around taking in such a place. The banished noble suggests that they continue their conversation in the wagon. He shows the versatility of his heal spell when he fixes the wagon and revives the defeated horse. As they move, he explains how his family cast him out. The princess can't believe how cruel the Westfelds are. Alan tells them that he's traveling through the wastelands for the time being. He's taken aback that Lise doesn't want to report him to the kingdom because the powers he just showcased would be extremely useful to the state. Beatrice agrees that sending him back to the House of Westfeld will be the best thing to do if one is thinking about the interest of the kingdom. Lise is going to put her friend before the kingdom. She is sure that this makes her unfit to be royalty. She thinks it's wrong of the kingdom to survive at the expense of someone's life. Alan is touched to hear this and thanks her for not snitching on him. They eventually arrive at the village and find the place to be too quiet. Beatrice even wonders if anyone lives there. Alan debunks the theory that monsters attacked the place, leaving it to fall into ruin. He doesn't sense the presence of beasts anywhere in the surrounding area. The knight has noticed that they have not been attacked by any creatures since he joined them. The banished noble suggests that the creatures are afraid of something and are avoiding the village. As they move further into the settlement, the princess spots a few inhabitants. They have all gathered for some reason, which is why the place seems abandoned. As they get closer, Akira is shoved out of the chief's residence. The leader lets her know that he has nothing more to say to her. As soon as Lisa sees her, she is certain that Akira is the light the prophecy spoke of. The princess even knows her by name, but Akira doesn't recognize her. This annoys Lisa, who reveals her name. The princess reminds Akira of her trip to the royal capital and how she showed her around the palace and shared meals with her. The girl remembers and apologizes because she's bad with names. To Lisa, it looked like she had forgotten of her completely. Alan is a little confused by what the princess means by light. Beatrice asks the banished noble if he has ever heard of the gift called Braver. It is a special gift bestowed upon one person in a generation and grants the power of 1,000 warriors. It is arguably the strongest gift, and its bearer is also known as the hero. Akira is currently the one who has been gifted with the Braver skill. Lisa's revelation proclaimed for her to become a guide for the light and clear away the darkness. Alan interprets it as the princess needs to save the hero. Akira stands there quietly, but her stomach yells for some food as it growls. They head into an inn to get a meal. The hero reveals that she is hunting a dragon currently. Akira was traveling when she ran into a child. The kid explained that she had nearly been given as a sacrifice to the dragon that lived in the mountains, but she did the 10 toes and ran away. Akira came to get details from the village chief, and they all saw the result of that conversation. The leader refused to talk and told her to keep out of the situation. The princess assumes that the villagers were threatened by the dragon and forced to offer a sacrifice. Alan suspects that the villagers are rather proactively offering a sacrifice to the dragon to receive its protection. Monster attacks are a matter of life and death for small villages like this one. That explains the abnormally low number of monsters in the area. The creatures are too scared of the dragon, so they don't come near. Akira feels like this is the most reasonable explanation based on the reaction of the chief. The hero feels like this type of scenario is something that is not foreign to these lands. She informs the trio that she hid the child in a cave nearby until they sort things out. The hero feared that the villagers might do something to her if she brought her back. Now that her belly is full, Akira doesn't have anything left to do in this village, so she reveals her intention to defeat the dragon. She permits them to join her if they want. The hero lets Alan know that the kid pleaded to be saved, so she's going to take out the dragon, even if the villagers are not in support. Lise intends to follow her because she wants to, and promises not to be a hindrance. Alan doesn't think he can live happily knowing that his friends are in danger, so he joins them as well. He gives a little pop star wink to the princess, which makes her blush. The party later reach the base of the mountain. They stop to go over the plan. The hero intends to face the dragon head-on, while the others circle the back for a pincer attack. Alan feels like it would be better if he takes the front, but Akira refuses because she gets the feeling that he would beat the dragon alone. He gives a knowing smile, feeling like the hero is overestimating him, but she lets him know that she can tell that he's not ordinary. Akira even expresses her desire to spar with him, but defeating the dragon comes first. Alan agrees to go a couple of rounds with her when they are done overcoming the monster. The hero rushes ahead, eager to annihilate the dragon before they get there. While they struggle to climb the mountain, Akira is already at the summit. Alan suspects that his former family is connected to the dragon. Clume Village has likely been built for the purpose of offering up a sacrifice. The House of Westfeld is borrowing the power of the dragon to help maintain the peace in the borderlands. A pillar of fire jets into the sky, signaling that the battle between the hero and the monster has begun. Akira dodges the attack and counters with a lightning strike. She is surprised to see the monster still standing. The dragon lets out a laugh and asks the hero if she has come to play. Akira takes offense to that question and prepares to attack. The dragon points to the girl lying close to him. The creature confesses to letting the girl go on purpose. He doesn't need to devour his sacrifices. He just wants to see the despair on their faces. Since he's long living, it helps quell his boredom. He never imagined that letting a sacrifice escape would bring such delightful entertainment. Hearing this angers Akira, who attacks with her full power, but it does no harm. The ancient creature hopes that she wasn't being serious with that attack and swats her away with his tail like she's an annoying fly. The hero is unable to move after that attack. The dragon teases her for her pathetic sword skills. Akira can't believe that there was such a difference in their strength. The dragon flies up to finish her off with a fire blast. But Alan comes in like a true hero and cuts the wing of the creature, causing it to crash down. He leaves the others to take care of Akira and the girl as the dragon charges at them. He stops it with a powerful slash to the creature's surprise, because his blade looks dull. Alan tells the beast that he's rather fond of it. The dragon reveals that he's supposed to be the closest thing to a god. He is known as the Red Dragon King, so a mere human shouldn't be able to wound him. Alan does his analysis and concludes that the dragon is strong with a power that is a class above the rest. Thanks to Akira, he was able to gather a lot of information on the creature and is confident that he can take the dragon out with his world-end power. He refuses to waste the opportunity given to him by the hero. The Dragon King tries to use the ladies as human shields. However, the princess gives him a confident look to proceed with his assault. Alan dashes in confident that things are different in this life. He hits the creature with an ultimate skill that explodes it and clears the sky. The dragon utters that they didn't warn him about such a foe. Pieces of the dragon fall like confetti. This is far from the peaceful life he was looking for. But if someone who believes in him is in trouble, then it might be all right for him to take a little detour for now. The joyful faces of everyone after passing through this ordeal makes it worth it. Alan later opens his eyes and Lise is the first person he sees. She notices that he's conscious and greets him good morning. He apologizes for over-resting, but the princess assures him that it's fine because she understands that the battle with the dragon left him tired. He asks of their other companions. Lise shows him the girl watching Akira and Beatrice spar. Lise wants to discuss the healing ability she showcased to save Akira and the girl. Alan has heard of a miraculous saint who travels healing the wounds and illnesses of the needy. He would have never imagined that Lise was this mysterious helper. The lady apologizes to Alan for not telling him earlier. He promises her that he will always see her as Lise, no matter what role she assumes. Not gonna lie, I am a little confused as to why she didn't try to heal Beatrice when she was hurt by the clay wolves. Akira tries to get Alan to spar with her, and Beatrice also wants him to instruct her. This prompts him to get up to entertain them. After they all recover, Akira decides to part ways with the trio because she prefers to walk wherever her mood takes her. They worry about the girl they saved because she wants to travel with the hero. Akira has learned she has no family, and it is evident that she's attached to the hero, so she is willing to travel with the kid. Akira apologizes to Alan as she feels like it was due to her weakness that his sword shattered. He had to step in to defeat the dragon when she got one shot. The young lady doesn't think that she's fit to be a hero and suggests that Alan take her divine sword. The banished noble rejects this reality and informs her that he was only able to slay the dragon because she fought it first. Akira doesn't realize that she was used like a crash test dummy and finds assurance in his words. The two give their thanks and say their goodbyes. Meanwhile, at the Westfeld estate, Horace reports the dragon's defeat to Alan's father. The Duke wonders if they overestimated the Dragon King's strength, and the retired agent-looking man reveals that the Saintess helped. The Duke speculates if this means they have underestimated her power. The younger brother expresses his frustrations and discloses that they were the ones who sent the clay wolves to attack Lise. Brett wishes they finished her off, but his father orders him to calm down. Securing the material dropped by the dragon is the most important thing. He's confident that they will get her if she is within their borderlands. This prompts him to ask Horace if he has discovered the whereabouts of a certain elf. The old man assures his boss that he will accomplish his mission and excuses himself. The Duke lets out a sinister laugh when he thinks about getting his revenge on the kingdom and the gods. During that interim, Lise reveals that she has a friend in the area who is a blacksmith. She lives in the village of Granholm. The princess thinks that her friend could make him a new sword. Beatrice informs that the smith is a quirky elf. However, her skills are sound. The princess wants to use this gesture as an apology to Alan for getting him involved because of her revelation, but they will only visit the elf if he's comfortable. The banished noble is fine with the arrangements. Lise tells him that she has already contacted her father about the situation, so there is no issue regarding her royal duties. The darkness comes, and they decided to camp in the forest. The knight gathers wood to light a fire, but Alan shocks her when he lights one instantly with a fire skill. The princess gets tired and falls asleep on his lap. She jolts up and apologizes when he puts his hand around her. Beatrice laughs and states that it's okay for them to get close since they are engaged. Lise turns bright red and corrects her that he's her former fiancé. The knight gives her a permission to use him as a pillow, and Alan lets her know that he doesn't mind. As it gets late, the princess takes him up on the offer and finds herself leaning on him. Alan is the only one awake, and he's enjoying passing the time like this. He has never done this since he was reincarnated into the world. The guy recalls that he first met Lise on a beautiful moonlit night like this one. He flashes back to the nervous princess introducing herself and informing him that they were betrothed. Back to the present, he wonders if the peaceful life he longed for is similar to what he's currently experiencing. The following day, they arrive at Granholm, and Alan is taken aback by how lively the place is. The knight informs him that it's a melting pot of many people who want to rebrand themselves for different reasons. They pass through the town and find themselves at the smith's residence, which is a cottage near the forest. The princess is confident that the elf will forge a fine blade. Beatrice finds it strange because they'd normally hear ringing from Noelle striking the sword. The knight thinks it difficult to believe she has gone out given how obsessed she is about forging blades. Alan looks around and sees that the door is not locked. They enter and call the smith. The banished noble inspects the weapons on the wall and admits that the craftsmanship is top tier. A scream from Lise gets them on high alert. They rush over, and they find Noelle unconscious on the floor. The princess fears the worst, but Beatrice reminds her that this is normal for the elf. Turns out that she's only sleeping. Lise heals her because Noelle has collapsed from overworking. Somehow she forgot that this is something the elf does. When she has work to be done, the smith forges without eating, drinking, or sleeping. Noelle wakes up and is surprised to see the princess, but she wants to know who the new face is. Beatrice introduces Alan as one of Lisa's guards. The smith already figures that they want her to forge him a sword, and instantly refuses. She dismisses him, saying that she's incredibly busy. Alan starts to doubt if the princess is friends with the smith. Lise likes to think they are. Noelle confirms that they are indeed friends, but this rejection has nothing to do with that. Beatrice understands that she doesn't have time to fit them in. Noelle can see that he already has a sword. Alan pulls it out to show that it's broken. Noelle assumes that the blade got in that condition down to user error, but she stops that trail of thought and uses her gift to analyze the sword. The elf notices that the sword was used to its absolute limit. She takes the blade, wondering how he could have managed such a thing. This forces her to change her mind about forging him a weapon. She asks Alan if he's interested in wielding a blade that surpasses a divine sword. She explains that no matter how outstanding a smith is, they can't make their best sword without knowing who will be wielding it. This requires a worthy warrior, and she feels like she has found such a fighter in Alan. After hearing her hype, he has no reason to refuse. Noelle kicks them out because she intends to start right away. She remembers her master Vanessa and promises to forge a blade that surpasses a divine sword. As the trio leave, Lise hopes that she doesn't do anything reckless. They decide to go find a place to lodge because they will be in the village for a while. Mylene camouflages high up in the trees watching them. She rushes to report it to Horace. The guy finds it convenient that the Saintess is also around. However, according to the Westfelt information, the Saintess's guard should be a lone female knight. They wonder who this male is and decide to investigate. Meanwhile, the trio find their lodging. The ladies suggest Alan head to the Adventurers Guild to trade in the material he obtained from the dragon. Beatrice is sure that he can make a lot of money. Alan is happy to hear this because he wasn't given any money when he was cast out by his family. The girls intend to do sightseeing. Turns out the ladies are planning to do something dangerous and don't want to get him involved. During that interim, the banished noble is welcomed by the receptionist. He informs her of his wish to exchange his monster materials for money. She opens the bag to appraise it and can't believe they are dragon scales. She rushes to inform the manager. This gives Horace the chance to talk to Alan. He wants to know the details of how the dragon was defeated. He lies when he says that they are travelers who love to hear stories from adventurers. The old man introduces himself and Mylene. Alan notices that she's an Amazoness. He informs them that he couldn't defeat it alone and hints to the help of the hero. Horace can only imagine how incredible the battle must have been. The attendant returns with the finished appraisal and is ready to begin the exchange. The old man uses this as an opportunity to excuse himself and later reveals to Mylene that he was assessing Alan throughout their conversation. He concludes that the guy is a useless failure who doesn't even have a gift, so he doesn't see him as a threat. Mylene confesses that she senses something off about the guy. After some time, the trio got to check up on Noelle to see if she's finished the blade. She's unconscious again, so Lise heals her. The elf points to the completed blade that rests on the anvil. She states that it's the best blade she is currently capable of making. Alan picks it up and can tell it's an incredible sword. She wants them to go and test it, but the princess demands she recovers first. They go into the forest as soon as she returns to normal. The elf wants to see him use it so that she can make any adjustments if needed. Alan would like to know why she's a smith because dwarves have the gifts suited for smithing. The elf reveals how she was raised by a dwarf who took her in. Vanessa was awkward and difficult, and she didn't teach Noelle anything about smithing. The elf still sees her as her master. She gets shy and runs off after giving her personal history. Horace and Mylene meet him in the forest and assume he's hunting monsters, and excuse themselves again. Noelle recognizes the old man, but she is sure she's mistaken and dismisses it. Horace forced the interaction to confirm that Alan isn't snooping around. He is curious about what Alan's objective in the forest is, so he orders Mylene to shadow them. Meanwhile, Alan tests the blade on some monsters and loves it. The elf requests to see the blade and analyzes it. She can tell that he's wielding it flawlessly, and the blade doesn't have a single scratch. She suggests they go fight stronger monsters to collect more data, so they head deeper into the forest. Noelle is surprised that there are no monsters in the area. Alan uses a technique to clear the mist, and the elf is disturbed by what she sees. She gets flashbacks to the day Vanessa met her demise. The creature before them was the culprit. Noelle implores Alan to eliminate the monster with the blade she made. She recalls how diligently Vanessa used to work on her blades, even ignoring Noelle's antics throughout the process. But the result was always stunning. Alan bluntly tells her that he has no reason to destroy the monster, since it's minding its own business sleeping far away from human settlements. He doesn't know what the source of her animosity towards the creature stems from, but he has no intention of executing her revenge. Noelle snatches the blade from him and runs towards the monster to attack it. The banished noble advises her not to do so. She stops in her tracks as he reveals that the creature before them is a Fenrir, and it has erected a barrier that will nullify any assault below a certain level. Only the highest caliber of weapons like a sacred sword could break through it. Alan tells her that her blade will not leave a single scratch on the Fenrir when she tries to claim that her blade is a sacred sword. He can see that she's already aware that she hasn't made anything yet that surpasses those top-tier blades. The guy has no intention of stopping her if she wants to cut down the beast. He shows this by walking away. Noelle just clenches her blade while looking at the creature peacefully sleeping. Alan later reports what they found deep in the forest to Lise and Beatrice. He is sure that someone brought the Fenrir to the location because it was cloaked by the power he dispelled. The banished noble has an idea of what the culprit might be after, but he has no concrete evidence yet. The ladies are surprised when he asks if they have tended to their secret business. He already suspected that the sword wasn't the only reason they came to the town. They reveal that one of the kingdom's strongest generals, Cyril, was assassinated 3 months ago. The culprit's motives are unknown. However, they took his head when they escaped. A multitude of gifts were used to investigate the scene, but no evidence was left behind. Alan already knows that this means that a demon was likely the perpetrator of the crime. This is because their powers are still unknown to humans. It is very odd for a demon to assassinate an official, since they are indifferent to human political conflicts. Beatrice is sure that someone has joined forces with the demons and are leveraging that unknown power to do their dirty work. Lise confesses that they came to Granholm to look for clues, since it's a hodgepodge of different types of people. Alan informs them that he met someone suspicious, to the ladies' surprise. Meanwhile, Mylene comes to check on the Fenrir and is confused as to how the cloak was broken. She can sense that the power that was responsible was from Alan, which puzzles her further, because according to Horace, the guy is supposed to be weak. She informs the old man that there are no issues to report, so he gives the order to take the princesses and Noelle's heads. Mylene lets out a gasp of protest, but Horace brings her back under his control by activating his subordination gift. Meanwhile, Noelle is obsessively working on refining the blade to a level that could land a blow on the Fenrir based on the suggestions from Alan. Before giving her the information, he requested that she should not do anything reckless, which she agreed to. As she shapes the new blade, the elf gets a flashback to the night Vanessa lost her life. Horace attacked the smith because her exceptional talent could one day produce blades that could rival sacred swords. His employers didn't want that. A young Noelle watched on as her master's weapon shattered against the Fenrir, leading to her defeat. The creature then turned its sights on Noelle, but Akira was passing by and stopped it with lightning and sword strikes. Horace withdrew with his pet. The hero tried to tend to the elf's wounds, but she pushed her away, wondering why her master's blade shattered against the monster while Akira's didn't. The hero stood by while Noelle cried over her master's body, as she felt like it wasn't fair that all of Vanessa's hard work didn't pay off. The flashback ends when the elf wakes up the following day. Her body feels light and rejuvenated. She checks outside, wondering if Lise healed her. We get to know that it was Alan's handiwork, because he was worried that she was working too hard. After some hammer hits, Noelle finally feels like the blade is ready. She steps into the forest with the sword to use it on the Fenrir, but she's knocked back by the creature when she goes in for a blow. This activity prompts Horace to arrive. He is impressed that she can stand after taking that hit. The elf dashes for another attack, but the Fenrir dodges and counters with a paw strike. Before the monster eats her, The old man asks her to serve him because she has a special power called Gram Sight. It is one of the 5 inborn gifts in the world, so he thinks it would be a waste for her to become dog chow. While trying to convince her how good of a boss he is, the smooth criminal reveals that they were the ones who destroyed Mylene's homeland. Noelle would rather choose to meet her demise than become his servant. He was hoping that she would make a smarter choice, but the elf lets him know that she would be cursing him from the next world. Horace orders the Fenrir to take her out, but Alan retrieves the blade and repels the creature's attack. He apologizes for coming late, but I think that the guy loves his heroic entrances. The old man acknowledges that he underestimated Alan's abilities. However, he believes that the banished noble should rather be watching over the princess, hinting at Mylene's assassination attempt. Things switch to the Amazoness, who has managed to gain access to Lisa's room using her camouflage. She pulls the bedsheet to find some well-arranged pillows that were made into the shape of a human. Alan already made them aware of the danger. Lise and Beatrice disclose to her that they are aware of her presence, which forces her to make herself visible. The Lady Knight wastes no time and attacks. The princess asks her to stop, which gives Mylene a chance to knock her out. The Amazoness goes in to execute the princess, but her conscience fights to stop her from doing it, and Lise can see this. This hesitation allows Beatrice to recover and knock her out. Alan uses one of his abilities to confirm that the assassination attempt failed. Horace refuses to believe him, and the ex-hero is not interested in trying to convince him otherwise. The old man still feels like he's in control of the situation, and is confident that he will win since his opponents need a sacred sword to inflict damage on his pet. The monster runs in to finish them off, but Alan cuts it down so Horace retreats in disbelief, Toby style. The banished noble carries Noelle back to the village. He's not surprised that she's sleeping given how hard she worked on the blade. They are met by the princess, who is relieved to see them safe. Noelle wakes up and gets mad at Alan for picking her up without her permission. She demands he put her down, which he does. They go inside to decide what to do with Mylene. She has regained consciousness and has already been released from the effects of Horace's subordination gift. The Amazoness still refuses to speak. Beatrice suggests they send her to the capital to stand trial for her actions. The princess doesn't think she is a bad person because the attacks weren't of her own free will, and is sure that the girl has someone waiting for her to return home. Mylene reveals that she doesn't have anywhere to go because they burned it down. This triggers Noelle to remember her past, so she decides to free Mylene so that they can live together. The elf promises the trio that she will keep an eye on her. With that sorted, Alan steps out and fires an attack that hones in on Horace. A demon appears and uses this opportunity to dispatch the old man. When Alan arrives, he understands that the true enemy got to him first. The former hero was looking forward to questioning him. Meanwhile, at House of Westfelt, the demon appears before the Duke to inform him that Horace was taken out before he could leak any information. Alan's father is happy to hear this. Brett is not impressed with the demon's output so far, revealing him to be the one who took General Cyril's head. The devil lets the noble know that they will take care of the Saintess and the elf. The Duke intends to deal with the hero and Archbishop. Bert volunteers to deal with the clergyman, stating that he's not like his useless older brother. The trio continues to gather information in Granholm, but finds no new leads. Noelle recalls one of her regular customers, telling her of a village where a ghost from the royal family appears, and it bears a grudge against the monarchy of its oppression. Hearing that the spirit wears silver armor covered in red residue catches Lisa's attention, so she suggests that they visit the village. Beatrice is afraid of going after hearing that ghosts are involved, but she tries to downplay it when Noelle and Mylene tease her. Alan also feels like they should investigate, since there is a possibility that it might be the work of a demon who knows how to raise the deceased. The party later arrives at the seemingly peaceful village, and some of the locals greet them when they realize that they are new to the village. The residents confirm their preparation for a celebration called the Returning Spirits Festival. It is a yearly ritual where they welcome the spirits of their departed ancestors. Beatrice becomes alert hearing this, but he lets her know that they just get dressed as ghosts and dance the night away. Lise gets straight to the point and asks them about the Silver Armor Knight, but they don't seem to be aware of what they are talking about and apologize for not being of help. Alan notices something strange about the villagers and recalls Noelle mentioning that there was a graveyard in the settlement. As the party walks through the cemetery, Alan doesn't think anything supernatural is going to appear. They get startled when one of the villagers appears in their vicinity. He escorts them to the house of the village headman. The resident tells them that he's the most knowledgeable person when it comes to the village, and the leader welcomes them. They discuss the rumors over a cup of tea, and the headman discloses that he's yet to receive reports of this Silver Knight and assures them that the place has been peaceful. He asks them to stay the night and witness the festival for further investigation, so the banished noble takes him up on the offer. That night, Lise has a flashback dream of her uncle, whom she was so fond of that she saw him as a second father. He came to see her before going on an expedition. The young princess got worried, but he assured her that he would return safe and told her how important it is to believe in people in every situation. Her flashbacks jumped to a later time when some monsters attacked their convoy. Her uncle suffered serious injuries and fell down the cliff trying to protect her. She wakes up thinking about her uncle and hears a noise outside that catches her attention. The princess looks outside to find him standing there. She runs after him calling, but he ignores her. Lise is led to the cemetery where she is ambushed by some zombies. Turns out that she was in another dream when she wakes up screaming. Alan is already by her side, so she hugs him for comfort. The following evening marks the start of the festival, so the residents get dressed and head to the bonfire to dance. As the party goes on, Beatrice reveals how the celebration of the dead is taboo in their kingdom. She's willing to overlook it because it's not causing problems for anyone. Alan doesn't sense anything unnatural, but he has concluded something about the village. One of the residents encourages them to join in the celebration. The Lady Knight and the banished noble get stepping after he checks something with his eye power. The princess decides to rest. While alone, she spots the silver-armored knight within the crowd and chases after him. He stops when he lures her deep into the forest and tells her that it was dangerous for her to come alone. She is sure that all is well since he's around. Lise wants to know what he's been doing all these years. They searched for him at the bottom of the cliff, but couldn't find his body. She always believed that he survived. Her uncle reveals that he has been resenting the royal family all this time. He hid himself so that he could take revenge. He drops the bombshell that the king is trying to eliminate her. The princess is confused as to why her father would want to hurt her. The uncle states the king is targeting those who possess inborn gifts. This includes Akira's braver skill. Noelle is also a target since her gift gives her the ability to create unparalleled weapons. General Cyril is also targeted as his power gives him the skill to double the strength of the soldiers in his army. The archbishop is on the list too, because his talent allows him to read any other gift. And finally Lise, who has the power of the saintess. These are powers that have the potential to destroy the kingdom, and their wielders are known as puppets of the gods. Her uncle reveals that the king feels threatened by these powers and wants them all eradicated. The Silver Knight lets the princess know that he wants to save her, so she should join and defeat him. Lise can't join because she feels like they can talk to her father and come to an understanding. She reminds him of his saying that one must believe in people. Her uncle shows his true intention and attacks her, but Alan blocks the attack. The banished noble breaks the spell controlling the Silver Knight. The uncle regains his consciousness and informs Lise that he has already met his demise and feels guilty for attacking her. He tells them that it's not the king who wants to eliminate the inborn gifts, but the demons. He was being controlled by one, although his grudge against the royal bloodline is real. People were whispering into his older brother's ear to drive a wedge between them. That is why he left to find a new path as the vice-captain of their premier night squadron. Lise was the only thing that brought peace to his life. He doesn't have much time till the spell runs out. He asks Alan to protect the princess, which he agrees to. His last request is to spar with the former hero. Lise tries to protest the fight, but Alan tells her uncle wants to test him to make sure he can take care of her in his absence. The two clash and the banished hero is the victor. The princess holds her uncle as he advises for her to find happiness. She cries as the life leaves his body. They return to the village where the celebration has finished. The village leader confronts Alan when he suspects that the guy has figured out his secret. Alan reveals that he knew from the start that the village was comprised of the deceased, and the headman was controlling them. He didn't want to interfere because the place seems peaceful. The village leader questions if he would think the same if Alan knew he was a demon. The guy doesn't assume every demon is evil just because of what they are. The headman shows that he's bad by attacking Alan. But the guy cuts down the summoned zombies and the demon. The evil creature drops a stone after disappearing, which Alan picks up. All the while, the main demon reports their failure to the Duke. Brett is angry, but his father checks him saying that Lise can't interfere with their plan given the stage it has reached. Brett reveals that he was successful in eliminating the archbishop. During that interval, the trio leave the village. While in the carriage, Alan inspects the stone and concludes that his younger brother's powers are within it. He reveals that the only part of the uncle's body that was his was the head. He starts to see a pattern when he notices that the general's head was also taken during his extermination. Lise gets a sudden call informing her that General Cyril has returned. Brett has visions of how his father treated him with disdain after the demise of their mother, then overheard from others how his older brother was better than him. This turned him to despise Alan, even knocking his hand away when he reached out to him. He jolts awake as he recalls his father calling him a failure when he was little. After getting ready, he goes to greet his father, but he just hears a sinister laugh from the Duke. Brett looks up to find his dad reading a report as he burns it. He informs his son that they can begin their revenge upon the kingdom and the gods. Brett strongly thinks he's the only one worthy of ruling the kingdom. Meanwhile, at the capital, Captain Edward and Vice Clark patrol the city. They notice that the rumors of Cyril's reappearance are spreading throughout the city. They conclude that this information is being used to form some incitement given how viral it has gone. Clark suspects that the general might be an imposter, but the captain advises him not to get lost in the details. The Premier Night Squadron must still attend to their duties regardless of the general's situation. They must stop those who wish harm upon the kingdom. The captain intends to uphold Cyril's will. The officer passes through an alleyway where they are confronted by a hooded figure. Clark gets ready for action as he asks who goes there. They are shocked to see the Archbishop. Edward wants to know why the clergyman is at such a dodgy place without an escort. He simply informs the captain that there is something that he wishes only him to know and asks him to follow. Edward's demeanor changes as he agrees to follow. Clark is puzzled and tries to protest, but his boss feels like gathering information is more important than any risks. He assures his vice that he will be back soon and puts him in charge during his absence. Clark helplessly watches as the captain walks into danger. The Archbishop leads him to the old training grounds, which confuses Edward. The clergyman simply informs him that this is where his role ends and leaves. The captain turns to find that he's alone. There is a moment of silence till a figure appears behind him and attacks. Edward is quick enough to draw his blade to block, and it's revealed to be the Duke. The captain commends him for the strike, but informs him that his bloodlust gave his position away. Edward is sure that he's the only one who would start sparring without a greeting. He recalls that the last time they saw each other was at the funeral of his late wife. The captain wants to know what his intentions are. The Duke calls him a fool, revealing that the Archbishop belongs to them now, and attacks. Edward blocks and questions him on what he means. Alan's father ignores him, and reminisces on all the times he sparred with the captain at this very location. He also remembers the pain from the day he lost his wife, and currently doesn't feel like he needs this world. During that interval, Brett travels to the capital and recalls asking Alan if he was a failure. His older brother told him that he wasn't, but the lad didn't believe him and ran away crying. Things changed when Bert's level increased, which impressed his father, who now showed him affection. Alan was the one now seen as a failure due to his lack of progress. As they grew up, the younger brother was frustrated that Alan didn't react negatively to being called a failure. Bert informed his older brother that he was the one worthy of inheriting the leadership of the family. Alan wasn't moved by his words. Bert gets annoyed that such things are coming to his mind currently. A demon appears to inform him that their part of the plan is going without issues. However, they worry if the Westfelt house can eliminate Edward given his ability to nullify any other gift within a 1-meter radius. The young noble assures them that his father will deal with him with no problem, but if the worst should happen, Bert can use his ability to put their plan into motion. He turns to the demon and starts to insult them for messing up too much. He gets startled when another demon appears to tell their leader that the hero has arrived. The devil reminds Brett that they are lending their strength to his family, so mistakes from their side will not be tolerated. The lad is sure that he's not a failure like Alan. Meanwhile, Akira arrives at the capital, and the girl fears getting lost due to the large numbers of people. The hero holds her hand tightly to make her feel more comfortable. She notices that they are being followed, so decides to go to a secluded part of the city to call out the people tailing them. The demons appear and surround her, happy that she is willing to confront them. They make their intention to harm her clear. She is surprised that they think that they can defeat her. The demons plan to use the girl to their advantage. They reveal that everyone from the village she comes from has their magic sigil inscribed into their bodies. It uses their life force as fuel for an explosion. All they need to do is launch a fireball at the girl, and the hero already knows what will happen next. They wonder if she will perish in the blast or abandon the kid and save herself. The girl tries to push Akira away, but she holds the girl as the fireball comes at them, stating that a hero would never run. A sudden barrier erects and protects them. Akira recalls Alan telling her that he overwrote the sigil on the girl. She now understands what he meant and is stunned that he was able to detect it. Elsewhere in the city, Clark has mobilized a unit to look for the captain, but they are approached by a demon that tries to convince them that the gifts are used to manipulate them. Clark is not interested in that, since their job is to protect the kingdom from harm. He draws his sword in rejection of the demon. The devil proceeds to cut through a few of the knights and lands a significant blow on the vice captain. There is an interruption when Beatrice appears to give support. All the while, the battle between the captain and the Duke rages on, but the noble gets the upper hand and lands a fatal hit. Edward figures that the Duke's high level compensates for his gift being nullified. The Duke reveals that if one wants to truly ascend, they must raise their level to the highest, to the point that one has the strength to end a so-called god. As the Duke prepares to finish him off, the hero interrupts disguised as a demon, and he is shocked to see her alive. In that interval, Bert arrives at the capital controlling the Archbishop and Cyril with his puppet-style gift. They try to persuade the masses that the gods have been lying to them and how the gifts are not a blessing. They rather stop people from pursuing their dreams and choosing their destinies. They propose a way for them to take matters into their own hands, through Bert pulling out their latent talents with marionette ability. The crowd is confused as to how this would continue if the noble was to pass away. Bert reveals the demons which terrifies the crowd. He explains that they will help them fill the void left by the loss of their gifts. He gives an inspiring speech about them joining hands and living as they wish. Internally, Bert just wants to create a situation where the masses can't live without him. Cyril even showcases a sorceress life form, saying how it will be a great asset for them, as it has the strength of 10,000 men. The young noble has managed to get the crowd on his side as they cheer for the future. He just wants to control the world. The pushback begins when Alan appears and calls to his little brother. Bert is shocked to see him and wonders what he's doing in the capital. The banished nobleman whips out a device that broadcasts the audio and visual from Beatrice's confrontation of the demon. She baits the devil to expose their alliance with the Westfeld and their nefarious actions. The Lady Knight asks about the general's assassination and the monsters sent to eliminate Princess Lise. The low IQ demon decides to tell them their entire plan since they are going to meet their demise anyway. Unfortunately for him, Mylene hides using her power and live streams the interaction to Alan's device. The demon reveals that those who possess powerful gifts like the general and princess were targeted because they would have gotten in the way of their plans. Bert pointlessly shouts for his dark companion to shut it, as the creature details how they mean to incite the humans into voluntarily giving up their gifts. Bert confirms this to the masses when he warns his older brother not to interfere in their scheme. Lise reveals herself and tries to calm the agitated crowd, but she makes things worse when she confirms the assassination attempt on her and tells the people that her attackers were like the sorceress life forms behind them. Bert shows his true intentions, since he has already been exposed by manically laughing. He tries to use his marionette ability to control the guards to attack, but Alan nullifies it, causing all his puppets to crash to the ground. This only angers Lil Bro, who activates the sorceress life forms. The crowd panic and take shelter. Alan thinks back to everything that happened before his banishment and promises to stop his little bro. Bert jumps down to attack, but Alan grabs his strings and pulls his sibling towards him and lands a devastating punch that instantly knocks Bert out. He leaves that area to the princess while he goes to confront his father. Lise worries about the emotional damage of facing the one who cast him out. The Duke might see him as a failure, but he now has people who believe in him, so he'll be fine. Meanwhile, Beatrice can clash with the demon thanks to Mylene camouflaging her. The devil recognizes the Amazoness as Horus's subordinate, but the Lady Knight lets it be known that she's with them now. The demon tries to retreat when he realizes that he's at a disadvantage, but Mylene prevents him by hitting him with a throwing knife. This creates an opening for Beatrice to land the decisive blow. The Lady Knight turns to make sure that everyone is fine as the demon disintegrates. Clark thanks her for saving them. She cuts the appreciation short to inform him that the demons are attacking multiple places to sow chaos in the capital. The premier platoon is ready to fight, as it's their duty to act as the shield for the kingdom. Noel turns up with top-quality weapons to help in their fight per Alan's orders. During that interval, Akira and Edward continue to struggle against the Duke. A dark power emanates from him, as the hero comments on how it seems like he knows what their next move is going to be. The captain reveals that it's the ability of the Duke's gift, which is called Undertaker. It allows him to see the future, meaning he can anticipate their moves before they make it, allowing him to counter. However, the power requires a lot of concentration, so it's difficult to use in battle. Edward reminds his old friend that his late wife Marielle wouldn't have approved of his destructive lust for power. The Duke reveals how he kept on foreseeing her death. He tried everything to avoid that future. However, in the end, it was all for naught. Tears of red residue fall from the Duke's eyes, but with no black flames, as he recalls the day she told him that he has tried his best and should allow fate to take her. He blames the gift given by the gods for taking his wife. She had the gift named Sacred Mother, which destined her to give birth to a hero. However, she gave birth to Alan, who wasn't even granted a gift, and lost her life as a result. The Duke feels like the world, and all gifts within it should disappear if the gods allowed this injustice to happen. The hero tells the Duke to get over himself, after understanding that all this devastation he's causing is because he lost someone dear to him. The Westfeld head can see her point, but he has embraced the darkness to exact his revenge. He shoots a menacing dark blast, but the hero counters with her own lightning attack. She notes that their powers are evenly matched. The Duke suddenly increases his output, which overwhelms the hero and knocks her back. The captain realizes that the Westfeld head is tapping into the demon's power. Edward tries to warn him to stop because using any more of that power will lead him to lose himself. The Duke doesn't care and hits the captain with a blast. This causes him to feel the rage, grief, and sorrow of his old friend. He walks toward him to say sorry, but the Duke mercilessly finishes him off because he's not going to tolerate anyone claiming to understand him. The hero is disgusted after seeing the Duke eliminate a friend that showed concern for him till his last breath. He's not bothered, and fires a wave of darkness to finish her off. Alan comes in clutch and blocks the attack. His father laughs, seeing that his failure of a son has come to interfere with his plans. Alan blocks another assault to his father's surprise. He lets the family head know that despite being a failure, there are some people he doesn't want to abandon. Alan is also sure that his mother wouldn't approve of his father's actions. Hearing him talk about her triggers the Duke to unleash a devastating attack. The darkness transports Alan to his father's inner world, where he sees the love his father had for his mother. He decides not to be a bystander out of fear of getting betrayed like he did in his previous life. Alan fights back, which only pushes the Duke to tap into more of the demon's power. A dark cloud washes over the capital, but Alan counters with his ultimate skill, which breaks through his dad's overwhelming darkness. He meets the core of his father's negative feelings and thanks it for teaching him to stop running away from the pain of being betrayed. Alan lands the final blow which dispels the menacing energy. His father still calls his son a failure, but he acknowledges the fact that his wife fulfilled her destiny, not sure if he just contradicted himself there. The Duke tears up as he disintegrates. In the aftermath, Alan has an audience with the king who grants him the title of Duke of Westphalt. However, he kindly rejects the appointment to everyone's surprise. The king later reveals that he expected that response. He already knew Alan's character based on what Lys told him over the years. The monarch is just happy that he protected his daughter and the kingdom. After sorting out their affairs, Alan, Niol, and Mylene prepare to leave. The smith is confused as to why he's following them to Granholm. The guy finds it to be the most convenient place. They are joined by Lys, who is tagging along. She reveals that her last name is Westphalt, as she has taken over that domain. Beatrice can't follow her since she's a guard for the royal family, and Lys is no longer a member. The Lady Knight tries to find a way to be assigned to protect Lys again, but she's not able to for the time being. The former princess holds on to Alan as she states how much safer she feels with him. They jump onto the wagon to continue their journey. Meanwhile, in a mansion somewhere, Henriette uses her eye power to check on Alan only to find that he's still doing hero feats. She doesn't understand the point of him reincarnating, just to do the same thing. The lady just assumes that he can't help himself. Half a year has passed, and Alan has a dream about the final moments of his previous life. Henriette held him while crying, because his continued sacrifices saved a lot of people from despair. He was exactly the sort of hero she wished for. As a reward, she asked him to tell her his wish. The banished noble wakes up before the wish is revealed, and comments on how nostalgic the dream was. He finds himself back inside his old familial home, but it's under a new master. Alan is greeted by Lys, who has breakfast prepared. The other two join them soon after. The noble lady is stunned seeing Noelle dressed like an attention-seeking gym babe. Alan remarks on the lack of modesty on display. But the elf gets him in trouble when she reveals that he has seen her in a more compromising state. Lys violently shakes the banished boy, demanding to know the meaning of that statement. Alan just wants to know when he'll find the sort of peace he seeks. Noelle gets changed into her standard outfit, as they all sit to have breakfast. She reminds Alan of his promise to test her new sword. This triggers Lys to remind him of the ducal house paperwork he vowed to help her with. Mylene also points out his obligation to take a nap with her. They all get upset by his oblivious response. The receptionist at the guild also comes with plenty job requests that have piled up. His assistance is needed since he's the only one that can attend to some of them. All the ladies grab one of his limbs and drag him to fulfill his promises. He later lies on the lawn exhausted after getting everything done. The guy sees this as another way to live in peace. Alan gathers everyone to announce his decision to travel to the Victor Empire because it would be a good change of pace. If he finds somewhere nice to live, he might even settle there. Lys is disappointed to hear this. The Victor Empire and the Kingdom of Adoestella currently have a truce, but the Empire is a major power. Noelle has heard that they have a lot of skilled dwarven smiths, so she will tag along to learn from them. Mylene also decides to follow. Hearing this only makes the noble lady sadder, because she must stay and do work for the duchy. She managed to get Beatrice to look after things so that she could join the party on their journey. Lys uses the Empire's continued ambition of uniting the continent as her excuse to tag along. She finds it strange that they didn't act when Adoestella was in chaos, as it would have been the perfect chance to attack. Her duty as Lady of Westphalt is to protect their nation's borders. This trip will help her understand the Victor Empire's internal state affairs. Beatrice is only okay for her to go because Alan is with them. As they travel, the ladies complain about how the bumpy road prevents them from getting any rest. They look over to Mylene, who is peacefully sleeping. However, a sudden stop of the carriage wakes her up. They pop out to ask Alan if there is a problem. He points out the sandwolves that wait on a cliff above them. The creatures are so dangerous that they are known as the Desert Reapers. The banished noble leaps up and cuts down the pack in record time. The ladies are not surprised after witnessing the other feats he has performed over their journey. The guy begs for them to give him some gratitude occasionally. Alan wonders who could be controlling the sandwolves, because that terrain was a bandit's dream when it comes to an ambush location. so to find these creatures there instead is telling. Not long after, the party arrive at the border town. Lise is impressed by how lively the place is considering how far away it is from the imperial capital. Noelle is just interested in finding where the Smiths are. The lady notices that Alan is uneasy and wonders why. He has picked up on the intimidating atmosphere as there are too many guards even for a border town. He hopes he's overthinking things and bumps into a lady and realizes that it's Henriette as he apologizes. The guy is shocked to see her and wonders what she's doing in such a place without an attendant given she's the daughter of a marquis. She blushes and orders him to let go of her. The other ladies get a little jealous as they ask if she's an acquaintance. Lise recognizes her as Lady Henriette from the Marquis Lindqvist's family. The redhead also acknowledges the ex-princess. Lise informs her that they have come for sightseeing, but from her mannerisms, Henriette knows that she's lying. Henriette warns them that the empire is about to fall into chaos, so the party should leave before they get caught up in it. Alan informs her that he's a vagabond. She explains that the Black Wolf Knights are on the move. They are an elite unit who have been given authorization to mobilize at their own discretion. These guys are the most feared in the nation, and it is best not to fall on their radar. Henriette leaves after that cautioning. Alan thanks her as the others feel like they came at a terrible time. The banished hero suddenly runs ahead and leaves the ladies to sightsee. In the meantime, he catches up to Henriette and asks if the warning was coming from the disciple of the gods. She informs him that she's just a noble lady. Alan is sure that she still has her powers as a disciple of the gods. She reveals that there is a certain limitation to using her powers in this realm. Alan is confused as to how she also ended up in this new world. She blushes and points out his propensity to get into trouble, so he should consider her presence a bonus. Alan reads between the lines and figures that she was worried about him and reincarnated. She interrupts and tells him to go and live his peaceful life. He concedes and leaves when a sudden explosion rocks the town. Alan feels like this might be the catalyst for the Empire's civil war, so he rushes to the commotion. The culprit runs towards Alan and pulls out a knife to knock him out of the way. He finally understands that he's a magnet for trouble. The banished noble swiftly karate chops his attacker and wonders what to do with the guy because the guards will ask questions if he hands him in. A dark spell unexpectedly activates and ends the life of the bomber. The captain of one of the Black Wolf platoons enters the scene. She reveals that the deceased guy was the suspect of the explosion. Alan holds his hands up as he explains how the man attacked, and he countered, but it was not his blow that eliminated him. The captain reveals that she can see what gifts others have used. She can tell that no weapons or gift was used to commit this extermination. The captain also discloses she can't detect the powers that demons use. Alan cuts her trail of thought by revealing that he's not a demon. She doesn't believe him till he proves this and tries to apprehend him, but he's saved by Mylene as he disappears. The captain gives the order to close the border. She is sure that it would be a disaster if Estella learns about the incident. Meanwhile, Mylene takes them to the sewer where Henriette and the others are waiting. The redhead knew that he would be drawn to the trouble, so sent Mylene to fetch him with her gift that is demonic in nature. They are unable to leave since the border is closed, and the knights are not likely to be tricked by Mylene's gift twice. Henriette suggests they stay at her place till things calm down. They arrive at her mansion, and Alan is surprised to see his family's ex-head butler Silas in service of Henriette. The old man reveals how the lady employed them after they quit working for his late father. They go inside where Henriette reveals that the tension is due to the emperor being assassinated over a year ago. Lise now understands why they didn't make their move when Estella was in trouble. The lady trusts them not to leak this information when the elf and the Amazoness express their worries. She gives them permission to relax till the commotion dies down. That evening, she joins Alan outside as they discuss the likelihood that the assassination was conducted by demons, as they are the only ones capable of doing a hit without leaving a trace. Alan confronts her about watching over him all this time. The fact that she hired Silas is proof. Bumping into her as soon as they arrived was not a coincidence. Henriette excuses herself when she realizes that she has been caught out. As she sits on her bed, she recalls how Alan was persecuted in his old life, so it is good to see him smile in this one. She just wished that it was her that made him turn that frown upside down. The following day, Noelle has a little tantrum because she's bored. She wants to go to the dwarven workshops and quench her urge to forge a sword. Henriette frankly tells her that this will not be possible since security is currently tight in town. Lise lets out a worried cry when Noelle enters smithing withdrawal as she forges an invisible sword. Alan points out that the Black Wolf Knights are after him, so the elf can go into town alone without any issues. She exits her trance-like state and lets out a shout of excitement when Henriette gives her permission to go into town. She is escorted by Mylene as they visit weapon shops and forges. They even find time to try the local delicacies. Noelle still wants to see more of what the town has to offer, but she has noticed that there are a lot of elves around, and it feels like they are staring at her. The blacksmith jumps to the conclusion that they think she's cute and starts to play the scenario of them coming to talk to her. Mylene quickly evacuates her from the area when the other elves try to interact. They head back to the mansion where they narrate the incident to the others. Noelle commends the Amazoness on a job well done. Lise is not surprised that the other elves would want to talk to her given how attractive Noelle is. This boosts the Smith's confidence as she appreciates how highly admired she is. Henriette bluntly tells her that her appearance is not what attracted the others to her. Before she proceeds to explain, the disciple of the gods asks Noelle if she wants to know about herself. The elf confesses that she doesn't remember anything from her past, so she's interested. After getting that confirmation, Henriette instructs everyone to follow her. They go to the yard where she transports them to the elven forest. Everyone is in awe of the beauty of the place. Alan immediately realizes that the forest was hidden with a magic barrier to protect them from outside enemies. Henriette also reveals that those who leave the forest have their memories wiped to further protect the location of the elven haven. However, she has been granted the right to enter the forest freely. After hearing this, he suspects that she assisted them with this powerful barrier because he couldn't sense it. She confirms this and orders everyone to follow her to the settlement. As they proceed, Noelle gets the sense that this is where she belongs. Mylene becomes defensive when she notices that they are surrounded. The elves come, but Alan assures his party that everything is all right because he doesn't sense any hostile intent from them. Henriette isn't surprised by this because their ruler has returned. The elves bow to Noelle as they welcome her back home. Alan immediately understands that the eyes of the sovereign is the reason for the elves' behavior. Henriette reveals that Gromside is only possessed by the elven royal family, which is why it's called the Eyes of the Fairy Sovereign. Noelle is shocked to hear that she's descended from royalty. The disciple of the gods also discloses that the royal bloodline in the forest has ended. This means Noelle is their ruler. Percival introduces himself as the sovereign's regent. The smith is a little overwhelmed that she's suddenly getting treated like a royal. Percival assures her that they have no intention of rushing her into deciding. He suggests they take things slow by getting to know each other first. A tour of the forest is the first thing on the agenda. Lise is surprised to see them using human tools and furniture. The regent tries to explain that it was Henriette who introduced it to them, but she cuts him off before he can give further details. Some kids rush over to offer their new ruler some walnuts they picked. Noelle accepts them and looks forward to the amazing gift they promised to bring her the following day. Philip gets annoyed when he's turned away by the regent. The young elf calls the other two kids who were allowed to interact with their leader bad before running off upset. Percival turns the conversation to the beautiful water source nearby when Noelle wants to know what Philip meant by his comment. That evening, Captain Lizette of the Black Wolf Unit is joined by Oswald. She reprimands him for addressing her so casually. The captain is not surprised that he has not found the entrance to the elven forest yet, because the bloodlust he's radiating is enough to make anyone run. The guy tries to take shots at Lizette for breaking one of the worst taboos in the history of the Empire. The captain warns him of such jokes at sword point. She also tells him not to make the situation complicated by going on a rampage when he finds the elven settlement. Meanwhile, the elves have a party to celebrate the return of a ruler. Percival joins Alan and explains how elves grow through their service to their monarch. So without one, they have not been able to grow. It also affects their reproduction as they can't bear children. The population has therefore been on a decline. Henriette is the one who brought the goods from other cultures so that they could learn and go out into the world and find another purpose. This education on other ways of doing things has really helped the village. Alan guesses that it was Henriette who also brought the two demon kids to the village. Percival is surprised that he noticed, but he has heard that those who are very skilled or sensitive can see demons' aura. The brandished noble further shocks him when he reveals that he doesn't have any animosity towards them. The regent confesses that they were opposed to the idea of harboring demons at first, but they are slowly warming up to the notion. Philip is still hostile as he watches from a distance. After the celebration, they review things with Noelle, who is still unsure what to do, but the party assure her that they support whatever decision she makes. They all go off to bed, leaving her to ponder. Alan gives Henriette the "I want to talk later" look. Noelle thinks about her current life and notices that she has fulfilled Vanessa's wish to forge a blade that surpasses a divine sword. She doesn't know what to do next and why she's traveling with Alan and the others. The smith realizes that she has come all this way without understanding herself. During that interval, Alan and Henriette have their meeting after he clears up her misconception as to why he called her. She's a little annoyed that Percival spoke about the demon situation without her permission, but since Alan is already aware, she reveals that demons are not a distinct race, but rather a state that the will of the world labels those who resent others and wishes them to meet their demise. However, there are some cases where a demon child is born to demon parents. These kids are branded and despised and are cast into the poorest conditions by their parents. Those who survive become the strongest demons. Henriette saved those kids from harm. Alan is not surprised given her nature. The tour continues the following day. The demon kids bring Noelle a spirit stone which is revealed to be rare. Those kids pulled through with the nice gift they promised. Philip snatches the stone and throws it away, telling the demons to stay away from their sovereign. He runs away as the kids cry. It is evident that the other races hate the demons. Henriette catches up with Philip in town and challenges his prejudice against them. The lad realizes that it is baseless because they haven't done anything to him. She leaves him to ponder, and just as Philip is about to go and apologize, Oswald grabs the lad at sword point, demanding he show him the way to the elven forest. The party are oblivious to the incoming threat as they enjoy a feast presented by the elves, and it's a vegan's dream. Percival encourages them to eat without restraints. Mylene takes him up on the offer as she aggressively swallows the food. The demon kids try to win Lise over by presenting her with a special bowl of food, which she accepts. Noelle stares at the food with a long face, which Henriette notices, and makes a comment to Alan. The banished noble is sure that she's contemplating the elven sovereignty she has been offered. The last thing on her mind is the food. Henriette wishes she could help her in some way, but Alan knows that this is something the smith must decide for herself. Unbeknownst to them, the reason Noelle has the sad face is because she wants some meat and not this rabbit food. The god's disciple takes her leave after the meal and puts the party in the care of Percival as she goes to look for Philip. The regent apologizes for the trouble. She doesn't see it to be an issue since she must return to the mansion anyway. Percival explains the situation to the others so that they are aware. He just hopes that the lad hasn't gotten caught up in trouble. Well, he should give up on that because the boy is in deep doo-doo. Henriette arrives in town looking for the boy but finds no trace of him. Low-key this is Cap, because she can spy Alan who is in a different kingdom, but she can't find a single missing boy in her own town. Anyway, back at the forest, Alan notices how carefree the elves are, but Mylene sees them as lazy. Percival attributes their easygoing nature to their slow aging rate. This allows them to experience time and more things differently. Hard work is one of them. They feel like only those who are defeated work hard. Alan tries to take shots at Noelle by asking the regent if she's eccentric for being obsessed with smithing, despite being an elf. She knocks him for trying to present her like she's some kind of weirdo. Mylene wants to know who cooks if they are so resistant to hard work. Percival stretches his hand, and an apple falls into it. The outsiders are stunned. He discloses how the forest shares its bounty with them when they wish for it. The forest is part of them, and they are also a part of it. Alan uses his eye power to see that the elves and forest are blended. He concludes that this is a nice place to live. Percival asks for Noelle's opinion, and she also thinks it's an ideal habitat. Alan wants to know if it's possible for him to live in the forest. After hearing how the woods work, it seems like the kind of place he always wished to live in. The regent reveals that the forest must accept him if he wishes to live with them, but he doesn't know how one can achieve this. It is divulged that the demon kids are staying for a short time. That is why they are not required to be accepted by the forest. Alan is happy to hear that a short-term stay is about 100 years. The humans are shocked to hear this. Since they have a fleeting lifespan, their conversation is interrupted when the forest informs Percival that someone has come to visit. This is not too unusual, since there are others who have been given special permission to enter the woods. He apologizes to their future monarch while asking for permission to go attend to the visitor. Alan just hopes that it's not someone from the Empire, but the girls remind him that he's the one who's the fugitive and not them. The party head back to the village to relax, and Lise asks Alan about his plans to stay, and gets jealous when he mentions that he will be close to Henriette, so he can go to her if anything comes up. The other two tease them for sounding like a married couple with their argument. Noelle assures the former princess that she will keep an eye on him. She's thinking about staying in the village and opening a forge to work while figuring things out. The fact that there are lots of dwarves in the Empire will also help her learn new techniques. Mylene wants to stay with the smith, and so does Lise, but she is reminded of her ducal duties. Meanwhile, Henriette arrives home to find Lisette waiting for her. The captain of the Black Knights reveals that they have received information that the god's disciple is harboring a suspect linked to the emperor's assassination. Henriette questions her sources, which forces the captain to confess that she just came based on a hunch, and there was no tip. Lisette is sure that the noble lady is the only one capable of hiding her suspect, since they have vanished without a trace, and they didn't cross the border. She gives the order for her men to shatter the place to look for evidence. Henriette is confident that they will not find anything, but the captain is sure that she will find something in the elven forest, since the noble lady goes there often. This leaves her a little shaken. Meanwhile, Oswald has infiltrated the woods with the aid of Philip, and he's looking to cause some trouble. Percival joins them, and soon realizes the situation when he spots the young lad and the member of the Black Knights. He recalls Henriette warning him about the unit who have the authority to extract punishment on sight. The regent tries to be diplomatic as he introduces himself, before asking the knight what he wants in their territory. Oswald accuses them of harboring a criminal, but Percival assures him that he's mistaken. The Dark Knight doesn't want to hear his excuses, because he has already made his mind up. He demands the regent bring out his suspect and opens the door of aggression to get his point across. The demon kids come at the worst possible time to give the newcomer some fruits, as they are oblivious to the danger. Oswald takes a closer look at the kids and realizes that they are demons. He doesn't care about the criminal again and unleashes his skill and causes a huge explosion. Noelle senses it through a vision and checks the spirit stones they gave her to confirm that the demon children are in danger. All she knows is that a black wolf knight is attacking. Noelle and Mylene rush to help. Alan has a flashback to how his help was not appreciated in his previous life. Back then he would have also rushed to help without hesitation, but PTSD is making him have second thoughts. A call from Lise snaps him out of it and provokes him to go help. Back at the battle, Percival managed to block the attack. The knight acknowledges his strength, but he's adamant about eliminating the demon when the regent tries to beg for mercy. Percival orders the kids to move to safety just before Oswald breaks through the barrier. The explosion sends the regent flying. The invader doesn't see the elf as a contender again, so he turns his attention to the demons. Philip stands in the way, but Oswald is willing to cut him down. Noelle interferes by throwing a hammer at the knight's head. She demands he leave the forest immediately. Mylene senses the attacks coming and dodges them while dragging the smith. This gives Percival the time to recover and attack, but it's nullified again. Alan comes in clutch just as the finishing blow is about to land. The banished noble uses his eye powers to see Oswald's fuse and cuts them before the explosion can be ignited. The knight loses his composure, leaving him wide open to be knocked out by Alan. Lise heals the kids, who get right back to playing. The party are sure that Henriette will be upset if she hears about this. They are surprised to see her calm when she arrives. She informs them that she will take care of the incident and reveals that the blockades have been lifted so they can return to their kingdom. Alan is a little suspicious, but he doesn't act. Noelle wants to travel a bit more to find herself before returning, so she leaves with the party as they say their goodbyes to the elves. It is later revealed that Henriette made a deal with Lisette to be charged with the assassination of the emperor in exchange for letting the party return to the kingdom. The lady is handcuffed and taken away. Alan and his party gather the supplies needed for the journey back. Noelle is a little frustrated because she wanted to see more forges. She intends to spend a whole month next time exploring and observing dwarven artisans and their skills. Alan notices that Lise is distant and asks if there is an issue. The former princess expresses her sadness that they didn't get to say a decent thank you and farewell to Henriette, given how hospitable she was. Alan doesn't think she's worried about that kind of stuff. He suggests that she express her gratitude the next time they see each other. Just as they prepare to set off, Curtis stops and asks them to help him save his sister. The party are a little confused as they don't know who he is. Alan is a little conflicted because they are leaving the Empire since they don't want to get caught up in any more trouble. The elf feels like they should hear him out at the very least, as it might be something that can be easily taken care of. Curtis introduces himself, and his last name of Lindqvist catches their attention, as that is Henrietta's family name. The lad begs for them to save her. They head straight to a tavern to discuss further. He reveals how she was detained by the Black Wolf Knights for the crime of assassinating the Emperor. Everyone is shocked to hear this. The lady is currently being taken to the capital for sentencing. The lad is sure that these accusations are false. Noelle is confident that they can prove her innocence, but Curtis is certain that their efforts will only get suppressed. Henriette is shunned by certain royal and noble factions. Lise is stunned to hear this given how kind and intelligent the lady is. Curtis is certain that this is exactly the reason why, because Henriette is too brilliant, and it has earned her the envy and resentment of some people. She has rejected the ideas and principles of the Empire without reservation. Alan is not surprised that her loud mouth would cross a lot of people. Curtis is sure that this is the work of someone who loathes her, and he can't do anything with his level of power. Alan is sure that there must be other friends and relatives that could offer aid. Curtis discloses how he and his sister are isolated in the Lindqvist family. Lise recalls Henriette stating that she was the only child. Alan, for some strange reason, wants some time to think about saving the lady who he has known over a lifetime. Lise and the ladies later join him to discuss their worries about Curtis. They ponder on how he just showed up, just as they were about to leave town with a request that they can't ignore. Alan is not sure about the guy's motive, but he finds him to be suspicious. The lady never mentioned a brother, and they have not met him since they came. Alan used his divine eyes and has confirmed that Henriette has been taken by the Black Wolf Knights. She's en route to the imperial capital under heavy guard. This gives him some credibility, so Alan feels like they should follow along and decide when more details come out. Lise worries that it might be a trap, but Alan is confident in his ability to navigate through it. All the while, Henriette complains about the overboard bondage they have put her in and reminds Lisette that she's the daughter of a marquis. The captain explains that this is protocol, so she shouldn't take it personally. There is also the fact that there is an unknown factor about Henriette that makes everyone uneasy. Lizette is sure that her head would roll if she allowed a prisoner of her caliber to escape. The lady just hopes that the captain kept her promise to let Alan and his party go. She gets serious and warns Lizette that she will meet her demise if anything should befall her friends. In the interim, Alan and the girls meet up with Curtis to help him save Henriette. The noble is so happy to see that they came and introduces his guard, who doubles as his coachman. He assures them that the guy is trustworthy, so there is no need for them to worry. Curtis insists they travel in his Cinderella, I'm a Barbie girl in a Barbie world looking ass coach. The ladies try to hide the fact that they are unsettled, but Alan just comes out and asks Curtis if he's really Henriette's younger brother. He also wants an explanation on how the guy knew that they were friends with her. The noble doesn't blame them for being suspicious of him. He reveals himself to be from the Lindqvist branch family. Henriette, who hails from the main house, is his cousin. She has been like a sister to him since they were younger. He is a useless loser with no special talents and abilities, so he was ridiculed for falling behind the rest. Henriette was the only one who extended a helping hand. They became close, but his parents didn't want them to be acquainted. He had no other option but to watch her from afar. He was looking on when the party met up with her, and also saw her getting taken by the Black Wolf Knights. He calls himself a coward for not stopping them because he feared for his life. Lise comforts him after hearing his story. The others apologize for suspecting him. He understands that his behavior led to this. Curtis wants to know what Alan's relationship with Henriette is, because it seems like they get along so well. He simply says that they are friends. The ladies call Cap, because the two seem to be in perfect sync, like they have known each other for decades. Mylene even wonders if they are married. Lise almost dies hearing this and starts to attack Alan for the unverified betrayal. That night, the convoy transporting Henriette sets up camp, and the lady asks the captain about what befell Oswald for his illegal attack at the forest. Lizette is reluctant to talk about unit matters, but reveals that the guy was granted a pardon since they achieved their primary objective. The lady can see that the Empire is full of people who benefit from her being made into the assassin. The captain comments on the number of enemies Henriette made, so this was bound to happen. The lady is content if Alan is okay. She is also ecstatic that she got to see him after a long time. The party arrive at the next town to find that the Black Wolf Knights have closed the gate, preventing anyone from proceeding to the capital. Curtis feels like he's at fault for suggesting that they stop at the town. Alan points to the fact they had to resupply. The lad worries about his sister, and the former princess warns him not to think negatively. The elf wonders why they would suddenly lock down the place. They just hope that it wasn't because of them. Alan suggests they get information from the Adventurers Guild. Curtis pleads with Noelle and Mylene to wait with him because they will draw too much attention. While the other two investigate, they go to settle into their lodgings, but the girls find it strange that the guard never removes his armor. Curtis explains that the guy is shy. He also assures them that the lodging they are staying in is safe. In the interim, Lise is excited to be going alone with Alan, but tries to downplay it. They arrive at the guild hall where the adventurers are annoyed because they can't leave to work. Alan is unable to find information on an alternate way to leave the city. Lise also tried eavesdropping on the conversation around her. She has learned that the Black Wolf Knights are looking for a party of 6 people that left Loru, which happens to be the place they also departed from. This confirms that they are looking for them. A knight comes in just as they are about to leave. They demand information regarding the suspects and offer money for any clues. One adventurer points to the two, but they have already escaped into the streets. The knight runs out and chases after them. He is forced to stop when he injures a child. Alan and Lise plan their next move when an explosion from the direction of their lodgings prompts them to go there. They arrive to meet the building destroyed, and Oswald holding an unconscious Noelle and Mylene. The Bad Apple wants revenge for the L he took at the Elven Forest. Lise is horrified at the scene, and notices that Curtis is trapped by the debris. She is stopped from rushing over to help. Oswald states that this is a stage set for him and Alan to have their showdown. He remarks on how calm the banished noble is given the situation. The knight even wonders if Alan cares about the captives, and tries to get a reaction out of him by crushing Mylene. The former hero simply asks if Oswald will be able to strangle them before his head rolls. The knight takes this as a challenge, and prepares to smother the Amazoness, but his arms is swiftly removed by Alan. He drops Noelle and Mylene as he falls to the floor in agony. Alan coldly orders Oswald to be quiet and answer some questions. The Shark-Tooth Knight's cries turn to laughter as he reveals that he knew that he didn't stand a chance against Alan. This promotes the lad to use his divine eyes to see that Oswald has connected his charge to everyone in the area. Just seeing the despair on Alan's face is enough, so the evil knight challenges him to cut the fuses just like he did in the Elven Forest. Oswald is confident that other civilians will go to the afterlife as he saves his companions, so he must choose between the two. Alan recalls being treated like a monster, even after saving a young boy from demons in his previous life. This reminds him that he's not the hero in this world, so he has no obligations to save people he doesn't know. Savage. He plays with the idea of only saving his companions. Oswald snaps his fingers like Thanos, but Alan activates his divine eye, which slows down time, allowing him to rapidly cut all the fuses before they detonate. He even has time to save a child and his sister from being crushed by some rubble. Legends say he even had time to find the one piece and then hid it again. Lise had already surrendered to her fate and is surprised that she's still alive. Oswald is stunned and snaps his fingers, but nothing happens. Alan points his sword at him, asking if he has any last words, but the vice captain Celia intervenes. She understands his rage because destroying the town and injuring its people is unforgivable. It's only logical for Oswald to be punished, but since he's a member of the Black Wolf Knights, that duty belongs to them. Alan doesn't think that it matters who's dishing out the punishment as long as it's done. The vice captain doesn't want to make the situation any worse and swears in her name that she will see that Oswald is punished for his crimes. Alan takes her word for it and retracts his blade. The injured members of the party are moved to a safe location where they have their wounds treated and are allowed to get some rest. Lise also reveals that the town is no longer locked down, so they can set off to the Imperial capital the following day. Although she notices that something is bothering Alan, he wonders why the Black Wolf Knights who were targeting them would withdraw so easily. This doesn't sit right with him. The former princess guesses that they must have been looking for someone else, but she ponders on who could be the one giving the knights these orders, since the Emperor has been assassinated. Alan guesses that it must be someone who wants to see the Emperor's power maintained. That night, Celia reports to Lisette that the unit has successfully been withdrawn from the town. However, she wonders why the blockade was lifted when they haven't located their target yet. The captain simply tells her that all she needs to know is that it was their boss's idea. The vice captain apologizes for her insolence. She asks for permission to punish a member, and the captain guesses that it's Oswald. Celia is sure that he will meet his demise due to his injuries and wishes to put him out of his misery. Lisette informs her that their leader will handle his case personally. A dark power suddenly emerges and engulfs Oswald. Meanwhile, Henriette arrives at the capital and is shown to the room where she will be staying. The lady complains about how dreary the chamber is, but the captain is sure that it's better than the best dungeons. Henriette requests some books to read to elevate her boredom. During that interval, the party also reach the capital, but they stay hidden and observe the main gate. The group notices that one needs a travel permit to enter. This security measure makes sense given the situation. Curates would be able to enter without an issue, but the rest of them will have a problem. For example, elves and Amazonas are rare, so they will draw attention. Lise is the former princess of a neighboring kingdom, and Alan is an unidentified, rootless wanderer. There is no way they will be given travel permits. Mylene suggests they just march straight through using Alan's power, but that is quickly dismissed. Lise proposes they dig a tunnel and bypass the wall, but she is told that the guards will catch them. This prompts curates to recall that the Imperial capital has secret tunnels. Only a select few affiliated with the Imperial family know about this. It was intended for emergencies, but they are hardly used. The party decide to use the catacombs while curates enters officially through the front gate. The group are forced to hide when they encounter a patrol of Black Knights in the tunnels. Mylene gets a little lightheaded from using her powers. They hope that this doesn't mean that curates has been captured. Alan is sure that the knights are looking for them whatever the case is. This is confirmed when Lisette confronts them. Despite Mylene using her camouflage, the captain allows the ladies to escape since Alan is her target. The banished noble doesn't think he can fend off Lisette while protecting them, so he tells them to go ahead. The two have an intense clash, but the captain is a little reserved as Henriette's threats play on her mind. Their duel is cut short when the tunnels collapse, but they are sure that this was done intentionally. The girls manage to meet up with curates, and he's surprised to hear that they were ambushed by the knight. Their conversation is interrupted when the collapse of the tunnel catches their attention. The ladies worriedly watch on since Alan was in there. Curates gives a sly smile. It is wiped from his face when Alan shows up fine. The girls are happy to see him, but he notices that Curates looks like he's seen a ghost. The redhead assures him that he's glad that he's safe. Alan glosses over it, and just wants to know if the noble lad has a plan. Curates confesses that he doesn't have one, but he's sure that they will figure something out the following day, so they should get some rest. Alan excuses himself to go and check something. He appears in Henriette's room to check on her. She is surprised at first, but she informs him that at worst, she will be stripped of her rank and exiled. The higher-ups would want to resolve the issue as quietly as possible. She then teases Alan for caring about her before telling him to leave. He respects her wishes and excuses himself. The following day, the group have a meeting, and Curates reveals that Henriette is suspected of colluding with the Autoestella kingdom to assassinate the Emperor. If Lise is publicly seen saving her, it will confirm this association. This will spark a war between the two nations. To avoid that, Curates advises they leave the Empire and promises them that he will save Henriette. Alan gives the order for them to leave, Later on, Henriette is led to a cell where she's confronted by Curates, who emerges from the darkness. The lady is shocked to see him as he lets out an evil laugh. It is revealed that he's not part of the Lindqvist family, but rather the Victor clan. Henriette has a mountain of questions for Curates, but she wants to know who he's working for. He's a little offended by her assumption and reveals that he's the mastermind behind all of this. The lady finds this hard to believe given how lazy and incompetent the guy is. He displays how much he has changed by showing the power that indicates that he has authority to command the Black Wolf Knights. She is a little confused at first, since it's passed through the imperial family, but the noble lady soon figures that he eliminated all of them to attain it. He denies this, stating that he made them flee by threatening them. Henriette demands to be told why he pinned the assassination on her. Curates confesses that it was the only way to make his wish come true. He stretches his hand in hopes that she will help him become the rightful emperor. As things stand now, no one will acknowledge him since his mother was a peasant, and he's the son of the Branch family. He can gain legitimacy if he was to marry into the House of Lindqvist. Henriette rejects his stupid idea and berates him for his cliché insane ambition. Curates tries to win her over by proposing how they could take revenge on everyone who persecuted her when they become the royal couple. She makes it clear that she's not interested in revenge and informs him that she's going to bed. Curates is hurt by her words, but he's willing to wait for her answer. He bumps into Lisette as he leaves the cell and is happy to see that she survived the collapsing tunnel. The captain apologizes for not being able to eliminate Alan. Her boss assures her not to worry about it because the guy has left the Empire. During that interim, the party are on the road back to their kingdom, but Noelle is not comfortable about the leaving without helping Henriette. Lise also feels the same, but she trusts Alan's judgment and Henriette's ability to handle the situation. He wants to lighten the mood a bit and suggests they take an afternoon break. He asks the carriage driver to find a good place where they can relax a little. Lisette later brings Henriette the Tales of Heroes book she was reading and apologizes for her change in environment. As soon as the captain leaves, it is revealed that Henriette has loved heroic tales since she was one of the gods' disciples. She watched on as countless heroes helped people without asking for a reward. Their inevitable tragic ends always disturbed her. To prevent this from happening, she worked hard to guide Alan through these trials and tribulations. However, this didn't change anything as Alan also met his demise, so she doesn't mind sacrificing herself in this life so that Alan can finally live peacefully. Curates later returns to hear Henriette's answer, but she rejects him again. The lad is worried because she will get executed if she doesn't accept him. The lady is a little confused at his concern since he's the mastermind behind this foolish plan. She doesn't mind losing her life and even asks them to bring the noose. Curates is fed up with her stubbornness, so threatens to send assassins to take out Alan. The lady is confident that he doesn't have anyone that is capable of such a feat. Curate switches his attention to the elven forest, stating that he will burn it down, but she promises to self-delete before he attempted it, which isn't cool at all. The redhead gets frustrated and gives her a quick 1-2. He lands a few kicks before realizing his terrible behavior and apologizes before running off. He smashes up his room, annoyed as to why things aren't going well for him. A dark fog washes over him and gives him a sinister idea. All the while, Alan and the others arrive at a town to restock. He sends Noelle and Mylene on an errand, allowing him to talk frankly with Lise. The former princess expresses her desire to help Henriette, despite how it might come across. Their driver butts in, saying that one doesn't need to be rational to save someone. Curates later comes back to see the lady and is a little bit more forceful in his request for her to rule the Empire with him. She rejects him again, prompting him to tap into his demon powers to attack her. Alan comes in clutch and interferes. Curates feels like he could have just left quietly. He turns to the driver as he recognizes her. It is revealed to be Celia, who is the vice captain of the Black Wolf Knights. Honestly, don't know the point of this revelation, but we will carry on with this train wreck. Curates calls her a traitor, but she reminds him that she serves the Victor Empire. His actions, which caused harm to citizens, has disqualified him from being a worthy ruler. Things flash back to show how Curates expressed his wish to be with Henriette to a demon. The evil creature eliminated the emperor, stating that it was a necessary sacrifice to grant his wish. The useless fool was told that if he became the emperor, then Henriette will be his. The demon also offered him power, which he took by attacking the creature. This allowed it to possess him. Presently, Curates lets out a wave of energy that blows up the place. He then attacks Celia and Alan, who defend themselves. The banished noble dodges an attack, but it hits the vice captain, sending her flying. She survives but is unable to carry on with the fight. Alan can't believe that Henriette still hasn't figured that Curates is doing all of this to win her heart. The former hero cuts down the redhead and tries to get him to admit that he's doing all of this for her. She gently informs him that she can't reciprocate his feelings as he cries. Curates stops the act when Henriette gets closer, allowing him the chance to grab her. He blames Alan for her coldness towards him and promises to end the lad. He loses control of his power and turns into some terrible-looking thing. It's more disturbing due to the awful animation. He pins down Alan and Celia with an attack, but Lizette stops his assault with a swift cut. She reveals that she owes Alan a favor for him saving her. Curitz completely gives himself to the darkness and turns into full monster. Alan doesn't hold back and finishes him with his ultimate skill. He enters Curitz's inner world, where the guy acknowledges Alan's power and admits that he would have taken over the world if he had such abilities. Alan makes it clear that his intention is to live a stress-free life. Curitz disappears as their conversation comes to an end. Henriette starts off by thanking him for saving her, but she quickly starts to slate him for coming when she sent him away. Lizette ends their little slapstick moment to inform them to escape before they get caught. The captain made it look like Henriette was executed. This brought an end to the Lindqvist family. She leaves the Empire with Alan and his party. They stop by Lisa's territory where they relax together. Henriette feels like Alan is not only hers, but everyone's hero. That brings the season to an end.